Officers burned a woman's passport, discovering her to be the Attorney General's incredible wife. The sun rose gently over Maplewood, illuminating the quaint streets where neighbors exchanged warm smiles. Sophia Reynolds, owner of the local flower shop, walked among the vibrant blooms. She adorned the storefront with floral displays that could make anyone's heart flutter. But today, the air held an unsettling tension. Rumors of economic struggles whispered through the town. Businesses like hers were quietly suffering under rising costs, yet Sophia continued to nurture her passion for helping the community. As she arranged daisies and sunflowers, she decided to step outside, craving the warmth that wrapped around her like a cozy blanket. The chatter of friendly voices drew her in, and she greeted her neighbors with a smile that felt like sunshine breaking through clouds. Just then, two local police officers strolled by, their presence a reminder of the community they shared. Their casual exchange soon took a sharp turn. "Excuse me, ma'am," one officer said, his tone shifting. "Can we ask you a few questions?" Confusion bubbled up inside her. "Of course, officer. What's this about?" They launched a series of questions, leaving Sophia's heart pounding. The bizarre conclusion they reached sent a chill down her spine. They believed she was undocumented. The tension thickened. In her frustration, as she tried to explain, one officer pulled out what he thought was an elaborate facade. "We need to check," he insisted, grabbing her passport and, in a heated moment, tossing it into the small fire pit behind her shop. "No. Wait!" she shouted, the panic and disbelief rising to her throat like bile. But it was too late. The flames consumed her passport, turning something that meant her freedom and identity into ashes. What they didn't know was that Sophia was not just the friendly florist. She was the wife of David Reynolds, newly appointed Attorney General. David was navigating the pressure of his career, while Sophia was left reeling, thrust into chaos as media attention swarmed around the incident. Suddenly, they were no longer just two people in love, they were symbolic figures amid debates of identity, justice, and societal inequities. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Sophia prepared for a community gathering, her heart raced. Would her neighbors see her as a victim or a reckless outsider? She felt their stares. Some were filled with sympathy, others with doubt. And then there was David, struggling with his dual role as advocate and protector. Could he stand by her side, or would the weight of his career force him to choose? She took a deep breath, stepping onto the makeshift stage. The crowd hushed, anticipation crackling in the air. This was her moment, not just for herself, but for her community that needed a voice against the growing shadows of prejudice. As she began to speak, a sudden commotion erupted in the back, leaving everyone breathless and wondering if this would tear them apart or bind them together in resilience against the storm ahead. The crowd's murmur grew louder as Sophia's voice faltered, her eyes darting to the source of the disturbance. A figure pushed through the sea of faces, vibrant energy radiating off him like heat waves. It was Marcus, the town's beloved bartender, a familiar presence at local events, his smile usually disarming. But today, his gaze was intense, fiery determination painting his features. "Hey, what's going on?" he called out, his voice slicing through the tension. "You can't just treat people like this. This is Sophia we're talking about." The officers exchanged glances, not expecting the crowd to rally around her so quickly. Sophia's heart swelled yet sank at the same time. On one hand, she felt supported, but on the other, the realization of how deep the divide in their community had become hit hard. She looked into the sea of faces, some softened with understanding, others tight with skepticism. Before she could respond, David arrived, his expression a mix of worry and resolve. The moment he stepped close, a ripple of whispers cascaded through the crowd. All eyes fell on the Attorney General, the weight of his title suddenly daunting. He raised his hand, urging silence. "Sophia," he began, looking at her with a mixture of pride and anxiety. "I'm so sorry this is happening. I can't believe," but before he could finish, the crowd interrupted him. "What's the plan, David?" A voice barked from the back, frustration tearing through the spectators. "You have the power to fix this." Sophia's pulse quickened. She hadn't anticipated how the stakes had risen. It felt like they were all standing on a precipice, ready to plunge into the uncertain depths below. She had a choice to make. "Wait!" she shouted, cutting across David's incomplete thought. "I can't let this go without saying something." She stepped closer to the edge of the stage, feeling the weight of every stare on her. "This isn't just about me. This is about all of us. We are a community, not just individual names to be put on a list. Every person here has worth, their story matters." Her voice climbed, fueled by determination. Those gathered began nodding, some clasping hands and exchanging glances of shared distress. The energy shifted, and suddenly, they were no longer divided. It was as if her words knotted their hearts together, unifying them against the injustice of a single act. "People are struggling right now," she continued, her voice ringing out with confidence. "We're all feeling the pressure, but the weight of that shouldn't bring us down to mistrust one another, not when we have so much to fight for." Just as Sophia glanced back at David, a commotion erupted again. A woman rushed forward, white-knuckled, clutching a crumpled paper. The urgency in her eyes spoke volumes. I found this by the fire pit. It's important." Sophia's breath caught in her throat as she recognized the woman Elena, her friend from a community organization. Elena struggled to catch her breath. "It was your passport. I didn't think it would be destroyed. There may be something here that can help." Sophia felt her heart race. Could there be a glimmer of hope in this chaos? As Elena unfolded the paper, she took a deep breath, bracing herself for the revelation that might shift everything once again. "Will this bring you back?" Elena whispered, her voice barely louder than the crackle of branches in the background. Sophia's eyes fixed on the message, her heart beating in rhythm with the uncertainty that lingered in the air, wondering if this moment could turn the tide in her fight for justice, or push her deeper into the unknown. What secrets awaited her in the words that unfolded before her? As Elena unfolded the crumpled paper, Sophia leaned in, her heart thrumming like a drum. The crowd seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the truth to spill from the fragile edges. The air grew thick with anticipation, each gaze fixated on the fragile document. "Is it readable?" Sophia whispered, hope mingling with fear. "I think so," Elena replied, her brow furrowed in concentration. She smoothed out the paper on her palm, revealing the corner of the passport, the light catching on the embossed letters. The crowd shifted, straining closer, shuffling on feet that itched with urgency. Optimism flickered in the AIR.as Elena read the first lines. Sophia felt a spark of recognition. The words flowed like a river, each syllable lifting the weight of doubt. "Your full name, your birth date." Sophia Braxton. Her voice wavered. "It's intact. But there's something else. What is it?" Marcus urged, stepping closer. His eyes, usually hopeful, now danced with concern. "Elena, what does it say?" Sophia felt the tide of worry rising in her chest. She couldn't lose this moment, not now. There's an endorsement," Elena stammered, her eyes darting from the paper to Sophia. "It's signed. By a senator. An official request for cooperation. It means it could be an appeal for your case, a way to show them you're not just a number." The revelation hung in the air, vibrating with potential. The gathered crowd responded with a murmur of disbelief, ignited by the revelation. Sophia's breath stuttered as a sense of belief washed over her. She had fought hard, each bruise, each sleepless night somehow culminating into this small piece of hope. Across the stage, David raised his hand again, pleading for order. "Everyone, please. We need to focus. This could work. We can leverage this to push back against what has happened." "Is it enough?" someone shouted from the back of the crowd, their skepticism palpable. David locked eyes with the voice, absorbing the weight of doubt. "We can't let this slip away. This is a chance to highlight the truth." He gestured to Sophia, who stood at the forefront, a beacon of determination. Sophia felt the tide stirring inside her, the unity of their voices, the warmth of their belief reaffirming her purpose. "We need to show them this isn't just about me," she called out, her voice steady. "It's about every person who has been wronged, every face in this crowd. We can't let those who abuse power define our future." Every word unleashed a surge of energy. Several people erupted into cheers, their spirits lifting as they fueled her fire. Marcus stepped back, his fists clenched in solidarity, while Elena cast an odd glance at Sophia, knowing they stood at the brink of something significant. Yet, even amid the swelling optimism, a shadow lurked at the edges. What would the authorities do when they realized a document could unravel their intentions? Sophia remembered the eyes of the officers, cold, unwavering. A sudden doubt prickled at her like thorns, reminding her they might not take kindly to losing control. "Are we ready for this?" she murmured to Elena, fear creeping back into her heart. "What if they retaliate? What if we ignite a fire instead?" Elena whispered back, determination cracking through her tone. As the crowd began chanting her name, Sophia felt the swell of unity and the pulse of danger. She knew she stood at a crossroads, where one wrong move could send her spiraling back into jeopardy. Would she grab hold of the newfound strength around her, or would they all falter together? Just as excitement reached a fever pitch, the sound of a siren wailed in the distance, slicing through their celebration. A chill crawled down Sophia's spine. What's coming next? She thought as her heart raced. The siren drew closer, and she couldn't shake the feeling that the moment of truth was fast approaching. Would they charge forward together, or would fear engulf them once more? The siren's wail grew louder, drowning out the chants that had filled the air just moments before. The festive mood turned heavy with worry, like a storm cloud looming over them. Sophia instinctively squeezed Elena's hand, searching her friend's face for reassurance. But the uncertainty mirrored back, reinforcing the dread that pulsed through the crowd. David stood frozen, his mouth slightly open, caught between rallying his supporters and facing the impending confrontation with the authorities. "Everyone, stay calm," David shouted, his voice cutting through the anxiety. "We're not going to be intimidated." As if on cue, a van pulled up, its lights flashing. Several officers jumped out, their uniforms crisp and menacing. Their wide stance and steely expression sent a wave of fear rippling through the assembled group. Sophia's heart raced. What do we do now? She thought, searching for a way out, a strategy, anything that would keep them safe. The newfound hope from the endorsement felt fragile, like glass that could shatter too easily. "Listen," Marcus spoke up, his voice unwavering. "We have rights. We have proof that we're here for justice. Let us just stand our ground." But then one officer, a burly man with a hard expression, stepped forward. "This gathering is declared unlawful. You all need to disperse immediately." The crowd inhaled collectively, a gasp that echoed against the firm's directive. Marcus stepped slightly forward, his body taut with tension. "No. We're standing for something. This isn't over until we say it is." Elena chewed her lip, glancing back at the officers. "But what if they can't take away our voices?" Sophia cut in, the fire sparking in her chest again. She could feel the crowd's energy ebbing and flowing, uncertainty battling with the embers of determination. "We have the endorsement. We have each other. As she spoke, the officers moved closer, a line of authority against the waves of dissent. "You have until the count of 3, the officer barked, his voice commanding and cold. Sophia felt as if time had frozen. Thoughts raced through her mind, her father's teachings echoed, "You can't let fear control you. Stand tall." The weight of all their hopes balanced on this single moment. 2. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding so loud she thought everyone could hear. "We can't back down," she whispered to Elena, who nodded, wide-eyed but resolute. 3. With that final count, the officers stepped forward, beginning to push through the crowd. Panic erupted like wildfire, people shoving and scrambling to distance themselves. But even amid the chaos, Sophia stood firm, holding her ground. "We have to be stronger than fear," she yelled, and then, in a startling turn, the crowd, fueled by her courage, surged forward with collective will. They encircled the officers, chanting for justice, for truth, for hope, but just as the tide shifted in their favor, a figure emerged from the throng, a woman, eyes fierce and determined, draped in a professional coat, disrupting the current of the moment. "I have something to say." Her voice rang out powerfully. Sophia's breath caught in her throat. Who was she? And what would she reveal? With all eyes now on the newcomer, the uncertainty resurfaced like an undercurrent. What weight did her words carry? And how would this twist affect their fight? The woman stepped forward, her presence commanding. The crowd quieted as they focused on her. With dark hair pulled back in a tight bun and a resolute expression, she exuded confidence. Sophia could feel a shift in the air, an electric current of curiosity and anticipation. "I'm here to help," the woman called out, her voice steady. "I'm Claire Turner. And believe me, I don't take kindly to injustice." Sophia exchanged glances with Elena and Marcus, uncertainty mingling with hope. Was this woman really there to assist them? Claire looked unfazed by the officers looming beside her, as if she existed in a separate world where fear held no power. Ignoring the officers still trying to bark commands, Claire continued, "This movement is about all of us. And I'm not about to stand by while your rights are stripped away." A murmur ran through the crowd, eyes wide with realization. Claire Turner, they all knew the name. A powerful attorney general, she had been a fierce advocate for civil rights. Her words ignited sparks of determination once more. "Do you have any idea what is happening?" Claire turned to face the officer, her voice rising. "You are legally obligated to consider the safety and rights of these citizens." The officer squared his shoulders, his jaw tightening. "These people are breaking the law, and what law would that be?" Claire interrupted, her passionate stance striking a chord with the crowd. "The one that suppresses our voices? The one that keeps us from standing for justice?" The tension escalated, and Sophia felt her heart race again, but this time it was a blend of anxiety and exhilarating defiance. The crowd echoed Claire's sentiments, shouting back at the officers. They were reclaiming their power, bolstered by the presence of someone who understood the legal stakes. "Let us stand together," Claire urged, lifting her hands high like a conductor of an orchestra. "I won't allow fear to drown out our voices." Sophia felt a swell of courage, the fear that once gripped her chest loosening its hold. One woman's voice could change everything. Inspired, she joined in the chant with renewed vigor, "Justice! Justice!" But Claire wasn't finished. With precision, she brought out her phone and began recording the scene, capturing every raw emotion, every simmering moment. "This is going to expose everything," she said, her eyes fierce. "We'll take this fight to the highest level." As Claire's spirited speech whipped the crowd into action, Sophia could barely contain her excitement. This was the turning point they needed. They were backed by someone who held influence and could wield it like a sword for their cause. "Keep pushing," Marcus shouted, leading the chant now alongside Claire. "We won't back down." Just as the scene transformed into a symphony of united voices, a loud crash echoed through the street. The officers, overwhelmed by the fervor, were now trying to regain control. Suddenly, chaos erupted again as they began pushing back harder against the crowd. Sophia stumbled, fighting to maintain her footing, terrified of being swept away. She caught sight of Elena, who was grasping the edges of the diameter of the throng, her expression tense but resolute. "Stay together." Claire's voice rang out, desperate and commanding, cutting through the panic, but the flicker of hope began to be smothered under the weight of authority. And in that moment, Sophia's heart sank as she realized that everyone's actions were about to have consequences. With the crowd on the brink and police force intensifying their push, what would be the outcome of their uprising? Would they stand firm against overwhelming force, or would all hope shatter beneath that mounting pressure? As Sophia's mind raced, she couldn't shake the feeling that this would become more than a protest. The stakes were rising, and the battle was only just beginning. What lay ahead would determine their future and possibly, the destiny of their fight for justice. The chaos surged like a wave, crashing against the defiant cries of the crowd. Officers, now frantic, pushed harder, trying to break the unity that had formed. Sophia felt the shove against her back, bodies jostling, and her heart hammered against her ribcage. The air felt thick, suffocating, as panic hovered over them like a dark cloud. Elena's grip on her found purchase, their fingers intertwined like threads of hope. "We can't let them intimidate us," she shouted, her voice barely slicing through the turmoil. "We're stronger together." Sophia nodded, adrenaline rushing through her veins. Claire's voice throbbed in her mind, urging them to remain united. But in an instant, the force of the officers' advances caused a break in their line. A surge of panic rippled through the crowd as people stumbled back, chaos erupting once more. Claire was steady, steadfast in her efforts. With her phone trained on the officers, she captured everything: the fear, the defiance, and the desperate cries for justice. But as she maneuvered closer to where Sophia stood, a police officer lunged at her. "Step back. You're obstructing justice." "Obstructing justice?" Claire's tone was sharp, unyielding. "You are the ones who are obstructing our rights. Where's the justice in silencing us?" The officer made a move to detain her, but something unexpected unfolded. A young man in the crowd surged forward, blocking Claire from the officer's grasp. "You can't do this. She's trying to help us," he shouted, drawn by the fire of collective desperation. Within moments, more voices joined in, a cacophony of support leaped from the crowd. "Let her speak." Sophia marveled at the transformation in the atmosphere. This was no longer just about protesting, it was becoming a palpable fight for their rights, a stand that sent shivers of solidarity through every person present. She felt Elena's excitement bubble over, encouraging her to join the chant again. "Justice! Justice!" They shouted, a chorus of voices echoing down the streets, rising like a phoenix from the ashes of despair. At that moment, as the officers hesitated, a man stepped from the shadows at the edge of the crowd, a look of fierce determination on his face. "They can't suppress us if we don't let them. We can be the change." His words sparked something in Sophia. With every shout that echoed through the streets, she could also feel the weight of doubt lifting. She realized how powerful their voices could be. But just as the tide turned, the officers deployed additional resources, sirens blaring, signaling an impending escalation. Sophia's heart raced in her chest. She could see officers tightening their formation, batons raised, faces set in grim determination. "What now?" she whispered to Elena, fear cracking her voice. "Now we stand our ground," Elena said firmly, grounding Sophia. "We have to hold on to this strength. We can't let them win." As they prepared to hold the line, Claire motioned for them all to gather around her, forming a protective circle. "We're not just individuals anymore. We are a movement. They want to scare us into silence, but that's where they are wrong. Fear has nothing on our right to be heard." A collective sense of urgency sparked in the crowd, igniting a shared determination. Fists raised, they echoed Claire's passion. Just then, Sophia caught sight of a news camera. It was recording everything. What would happen when this moment got out? Would they be able to take this surge of unity and turn it into real change? A loud crash echoed again, sending shockwaves through the group. And as the crowd braced for another charge, something flickered in Sophia's mind. What if they could turn this fight into a story that couldn't be silenced? The energy crackled as they stood their ground, but their resolve was about to be tested in ways they couldn't imagine. As the officers moved in closer, a tense question hung over them. Would their united front be enough to withstand this storm, or would all their hopes be trampled in the chaos? Sophia felt the earth shift beneath her feet as the officers advanced. The tension crackled like static electricity in the air. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to escape the chaos that was spiraling out of control, but she couldn't. Not now. Elena. She shouted over the clamor, still gripping her friend's hand. What if they charge us? Elena's face burned with determination. We can't show weakness. We need to stand tall. They held firm as the officers pushed closer, batons glinting under the harsh streetlights. A group of protesters nearby raised a banner, the bold lettering reading "Justice for All." The words felt like a lifeboat in an ocean of despair. Sophia closed her eyes for a split second to center herself, then opened them to catch Claire's gaze, searching for reassurance. Claire raised her phone high, catching the moment, capturing the essence of their resistance. The lens was more than a camera, it was a beacon. Look! They're recording us. She shouted, her voice a lifeline amid the turmoil. This is our truth. Sophia's heart raced. This wasn't just a protest to her anymore, it was a piece of history unfolding. Fueled by the palpable energy in the air, they began to chant again, louder this time. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. Their voices filled the street, a rising tide against oppression. Just then, a loud crash rang out. A barricade toppled to the ground as an officer lost his footing, sending a wave of panic surging through the crowd. People gasped, instinctively backing away while others surged forward, drawn by raw courage. Stay together. Sophia yelled, her voice firm. In the thick of it all, she could see a woman near her, tall, with striking features and a fierce gaze. Suddenly, the crowd parted as the officers restrained her and dragged her away. What are you doing? Sophia cried out. She's not a threat. Elena squeezed Sophia's hand tighter, eyes alight with fury. This is insane. What did she do? Claire yelled, her phone recording the scene with unwavering resolve. The officers ignored them, their focus trained on the woman sobbing quietly as they gripped her arms. She looked around, eyes pleading for help, and when they met Sophia's, something flickered in understanding. Stop this. A voice rang out from the front of the crowd. Sophia turned to see the man from earlier stepping forward, his voice booming. Who is she? She's a lawyer, someone shouted back, the tension rising. Let her go. He demanded. You cannot silence a voice for justice. At that moment, something inside Sophia snapped. She raised her voice above the others, we're not moving until you release her. We're stronger together. The chorus of voices swelled, and for a heartbeat, the officers faltered. But then reinforcements arrived, sirens shrieking in a deafening chorus. The tide began to shift again, and Sophia felt the crowd start to scatter. Fear clawed at the edges of her mind. No! She shouted, adrenaline coursing through her. Don't run. Stay with me. Elena echoed her, rallying those near them. We are here for each other. But just as the group found its footing, a single officer broke through their line, his eyes wild. Step back. Or we'll use force. What about our rights? Another protester shouted. The anger in the air thickened, a weapon in itself, wielded by their collective voices. As the tension reached a breaking point, Sophia realized the crucial pivot they were all part of. This wasn't just a moment, it was a turning point, the kind that changes lives. She could feel it deep in her bones. A glimmer of hope caught her eye, her phone screen lit up with notifications. It was buzzing messages of support flooding in. "The nation is watching," Claire yelled, reinforcing that hope pulsed through their veins. Just then, amidst the chaos, a voice broke through, one that was familiar, commanding attention. "That's enough." The crowd fell silent. Sophia turned to see the woman from before, the one they had nearly lost, stepping forward with an air of defiance. For everyone's sake, she had become more than a victim. She radiated strength and fire. "Let us show them what justice can truly look like," she declared, and for the first time, hope surged through Sophia's heart. But as the police began to regroup, a shiver traveled down her spine. Were they ready for the fight that lay ahead? Or would they crumble under pressure? The moment sensed a shift, and Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that they stood on the edge of something monumental. Would they find a way to win this battle, or was it just the beginning of a long, hard fight? Sophia felt an electric buzz in the air as the woman stepped forward with renewed bravado. The crowd seemed to lean in, drawn by a magnetic force. She was no longer just a victim, the pea-sized target for the officer's aggression. She transformed into a symbol of resistance, a warrior amongst everyday souls. Sophia's breath caught as she processed the sight. This woman stood for more than her own battle, she embodied their collective fight for justice. Who is she? The thought whispered through Sophia's mind again, louder this time. Carmen. A voice rang out from the back of the crowd, igniting a ripple of recognition. Carmen Alvarez. Knowing that name, Sophia felt a spark of hope ignite within her. Carmen was well respected, a fierce advocate for marginalized voices. "She's not just anyone," Elena murmured, their eyes wide with disbelief mixed with admiration. "She's a powerhouse." The officers surrounding Carmen seemed to hesitate, a flicker of uncertainty passing through their ranks. They hadn't prepared for a figure like Carmen, someone with a reputation that could pull the community together. Sophia stretched her neck, wanting a better view of the confrontation, hoping Carmen would speak again. As if sensing her need, Carmen lifted her chin and addressed everyone in the crowd. "They want us to shrink back into silence, but we won't let fear rule us. We will fight, and we will win." Cheering erupted around them, an uncontrollable wave of determination that crashed over fear. Lifting their fists into the air, people replied, "Yes." "No justice, no peace." The chant morphed into a rallying anthem, igniting a deep-seated strength, but just as hope reached its peak, something else broke through, a harsh shout from an officer, cutting the air like a knife. "Get back. This is your final warning." His voice was low, menacing, a storm cloud rumbling in what felt like an otherwise sunny sky. Sophia's heart pounded, an anxious symphony in her chest. "We can't let them intimidate us," she thought, knowing that fear was their enemy. Yet, as she took a tiny step forward, her instincts kicked in again. Do we push? Do we fight? Move back, everyone. Another officer bellowed, shoving an arm in the air as if about to strike. But Carmen wouldn't cower. "If you truly believe that you are upholding the law, then let her go," she called, her sharp voice containing an unwavering courage that seemed to resonate in everyone around her. Sophia scooted closer to her friends, clutching Elena's hand tightly. "We can't fold now," she whispered. Their eyes met, resolve unspoken but palpable. Together, they wouldn't retreat. Somewhere in the throng, a furious voice shouted about rights, about the very fabric of democracy, while Claire continued to record, her video capturing the unraveling drama. This is bigger than us, Sophia thought, the notion spiraling in her mind now. This is what we've been building for. Then everything shifted again. Carmen raised a hand, signaling to the crowd to hold steady. "Let us show them we have numbers. Let the world see us standing together." At that instant, thousands of powerful voices roared back in unity. Fear dissipated, replaced by an unyielding spirit. Together they felt invincible, a coherent force demanding justice under the night sky, but in that moment of unity, Sophia felt the cold stare of an officer, locking onto her with a predator's intensity. Something deep within her twisted at the sight. What would happen next? Would the police respect their strength, or would they resort to violence? Sophia couldn't shake the chant echoing in her mind. Together, together. Would they all hold their ground when the tides of opposition rose hidden in righteous fury? Would they confront the menace looming just beyond the crowd? As the tension thickened, a single thought rang in her mind: will their collective courage be enough to carry them through? The air crackled with tension as both sides held their breath. Carmen stood tall, unwavering, while the crowd, emboldened by her presence, pulled together like a tightly woven fabric. Sophia felt the pulse of hope through her veins, a looming sense of something monumental in the making, but the officers, undeterred, adjusted their grips on their batons. One officer with a hardened face opened his mouth, and it felt as if the air had thickened. "What are you waiting for?" he sneered. "Step back now, or face the consequences." A tremor rippled through the gathered mass, uncertainty flickering in some eyes. But Carmen's voice soared above the growing noise. "You think we can be silenced? You think we fear your threats?" She paused, locking eyes with the officer who had yelled. "We've faced worse than you. And we'll keep facing it together," shouted a young man from the front, his voice raw with emotion. This lit a fire within the crowd. Sophia felt her heart race. Was it true? Would they really stand against the looming threat? Together she thought again, relishing the taste of solidarity. But just then, a loud thud echoed through the air. An officer had drawn a line in the sand, literally, kicking debris toward the crowd. "I want to warn you again," he barked, jittery fingers twitching on his baton. Carmen took a brave step forward, undeterred. "No more intimidation. We are here for justice, and we won't move an inch." Her stance radiated strength, igniting something deep within Sophia and everyone around her. A few yards back, a woman in the crowd gasped. "Look!" She pointed, panic thick in her voice. "They're checking her passport." Sophia squinted. Elena beside her exclaimed, "That's not just anyone. She's Carmen's wife." Someone else filled in the gaps. The realization sent ripples through the crowd. Carmen was a figure of valor not merely for her activism but for the personal connection now radiating into the collective consciousness. "Do they know who they're messing with?" a voice murmured from behind Sophia, disbelief mingling with awe. Suddenly, the officer who had shouted earlier looked incredibly small, almost cowardly in that moment of recognition. A soft gasp spread through the crowd before morphing into something more. "Carmen! Carmen!" A chant broke out, powerful like waves crashing against a shore. Tension shifted, and it felt as if the officers were caught in a whirlpool, confusion and resentment swirling around them. Carmen's wife was not simply a bystander, she was the heart, the human behind the fight. And with that realization, the crowd surged forward, momentum shifting toward a collective heart pulsing with life. Sophia squeezed Elena's hand, both of them rallied by the unexpected ripple of bravery. In the distance, the whir of police radios crackled, voices issuing orders that were increasingly frantic. Time seemed to stretch as Sophia thought about what would happen next. Would they push through? Would they face the full force of the police? Carmen raised her hands once more, commanding attention. "This is not just about me anymore. It's about all our stories being worth fighting for." Sophia's heart flew at the weight of those words. Would they finally take that leap together? Each heartbeat felt unquickened, and a fearsome sense of clarity settled over her. They had the truth on their side, but at what cost? As they came face to face with the realization of what they were about to do, a sudden shout broke through the confusion. "There's more coming." The crowd shifted, anticipation mixed with dread, eyes widening as fear trickled back in. Who was charging toward them now? Was it allies, or was it danger? Sophia braced herself for what was about to unfold, knowing in her heart that whatever happened next would alter everything they'd been fighting for. The tension was palpable, with onlookers hanging on every moment, their breaths suspended in the charged atmosphere. Sophia felt an electric jolt shoot through her, ignited by Carmen's words that promised hope and unity. But a chill threaded through her as a new group of figures emerged, marching towards them with an unwavering glare. "Back up! Now!" One officer shouted, his face set and stoic. The crowd instinctively drew in, then pushed together as one. "Who are these new people?" Someone whispered nervously near Sophia. She caught sight of more uniforms, their stances rigid, reinforcements arriving just as the tension peaked. Carmen's voice sliced through the anxiety in the air. "We are not leaving. We are standing for what is right." As her words traveled beyond the lines of uniforms, a wave of murmurs surged back from the crowd, filling the space with an echo of solidarity. "Together!" Sophia shouted, energizing the others. The word sparked something deep within them, igniting a chorus of voices as they united in strength. "Together! Together!" Filled the street, casting aside fear and replacing it with fierce resolve. Carmen's wife stepped into the light, her presence adding to the transformation. "You're not breaking us. We stand on the side of justice." Her unwavering stance in front of her partner sent a ripple through the crowd, solidifying their collective courage. Sophia's heart soared. For the first time, every person there felt like one, a single heartbeat to defy oppression. No more intimidation. The crowd shouted in unison, a chorus of defiance beating against authority. It felt like the walls around them were crumbling, a dam breaking to unleash a torrent of truth. "Why do you continue this charade?" Carmen pressed forward, every word laced with defiance. "This isn't merely about standing here. It's about acknowledging our humanity." The officers hesitated momentarily, caught off guard by the fiery unity radiating from the crowd. Sophia could feel it too, the air crackling, their collective voice resonating louder than the chaos around them. Then, the unexpected happened. Claire, having recorded the events unfold, blared a clip of injustice from her phone into the overwhelming din, revealing the officers' disgraceful actions toward Sophia. "People are listening, people are watching," she bellowed, eyes gleaming with determination. "Let their eyes see what they've done." Carmen roared, arms raised for her followers to witness. "We demand accountability. If you want change, you have to fight for it." The tension of opposition swelled, but this time it was heavier, laden with vulnerability. The command in Carmen's voice held them steady like a lighthouse guiding a ship through a storm. "Look at us!" Sophia cried, jolted with newfound urgency. "We are not afraid. We are connected by our stories. Every single one matters." Just then, something inside the hardened officers began to shift. Small glimpses of uncertainty danced across their expressions. It was then Sophia saw it, a shift happening not just in the air but within the hearts of those who stood against them. "Step back." The lead officer insisted again, his voice shaky now, his command losing authority as it struggled to rise above the swelling voices of the crowd. Carmen pressed on. "If you want to intimidate us, know that you stand against a community that will not bow down. For every injustices you think you can commit, we will rise tenfold." In that moment, the first crack appeared, as the crowd moved forward. The officers stumbled slightly, thrown off balance by the energy. The unity and courage were infectious, pushing against the barriers they once held firm. "Together. We will not falter." Sophia led anew, her voice a resonant call that echoed to every heart surrounding her. Just then, the sun peeked over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of red and gold, illuminating the fight like a beacon. The officers now seemed to be re-evaluating their position amidst the crowd, before gradually moving back, retreating like the receding tide. "Let us keep pushing. Carmen called again, and the crowd erupted into a victorious roar. The atmosphere shifted, it no longer felt as if they were teetering on the brink of disaster. They were on the edge of triumph, experiencing the palpable taste of hope on their lips. As the officers stepped back, the momentum shifted towards what they had fought for: justice, unity, and the voice of the people standing together stronger than before. In that moment, Sophia Reynolds understood the beauty of community. They all shared a story. And as they stood together, their scars of struggle intertwined like roots of a great tree, unstoppable and flourishing. Finally, the officers retreated, leaving a space filled with triumph, solidarity, and hope shining like the morning sun. But even as relief rippled through the crowd, the battle was only just beginning. Sophia knew this was the moment to build upon, to transform individual struggles into something greater. They had ignited a fire that wouldn't easily die. Together, they were ready to rise, and as she squeezed Elena's hand amidst the cheers, she couldn't help but feel a profound connection to every person around her. Together, they were going to make so much noise that no one would ever forget their names. I in the shadows, the real fight had just begun, but they would face it fiercely united, strong, and relentless. Now is the time for you to be part of this movement. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories and revelations. Leave a like now, your support fuels the fire of justice. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending below. And don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. True fans know the power of each action in amplifying our message.